During World War II, the SS were responsible for some of the most horrific war crimes in history. One of their most infamous members was Otto Skorzeny, a man Adolf Hitler himself called the most dangerous man in Europe. Today, we'll take a closer look at the historical events that made Skorzeny a figure of both fear and fascination, and how his actions sent shockwaves through the Axis powers and beyond. Otto Skorzeny wasn't just a soldier, he was a weapon. Towering at 6'4", with a jagged scar running across his cheek, his very presence was intimidating. A high-ranking SS officer during World War II, Skorzeny was given the title the most dangerous man in Europe from Adolf Hitler himself. And when you look at the missions he led, it's not hard to see why. Skorzeny specialised in the impossible, daring rescues, psychological warfare, and infiltration tactics that left his enemies in chaos and fear. But his most infamous act, and the one that solidified his reputation, was the audacious rescue of Benito Mussolini in 1943. At the time, Italy was on the verge of collapse, and Mussolini, Hitler's closest ally, had been overthrown and imprisoned in an impenetrable mountain fortress. For Hitler, Mussolini's capture wasn't just a political disaster, it was a humiliation. And that's where Skorzeny came in. The rescue of Mussolini. The wind roared against the glider as it sliced through the icy air, hurtling toward the jagged cliffs of Gran Sasso. Otto Skorzeny gripped the edge of his seat, his gloved hands steady despite the turbulence. Below him, the Italian Alps stretched like a sea of jagged teeth, the fortress clinging to its summit like a spider's nest. The plan was insane even by his standards, but that's why Hitler had chosen him. Mussolini was being held in a remote mountaintop prison, surrounded by sheer cliffs and guarded by elite soldiers. No one thought a rescue was possible, but Skorzeny didn't believe in the word impossible. He turned to the glider pilot, his voice calm despite the howling winds. "We land on the ridge, or we don't land at all. Do you understand?" The pilot nodded, his face pale but resolute. Seconds later, the glider smashed into a rocky surface, skidding to a halt mere meters from the fortress walls. Skorzeny unbuckled his harness and leapt out, his boots crunching against the snow. His men poured out behind him, weapons at the ready. "Stay where you are," Skorzeny barked at the stunned guards, his voice echoing off the cliffs. The shock of their arrival had frozen them in place. With military precision, his team swept into the fortress. Skorzeny himself led the charge, his tall frame cutting a commanding figure as they stormed the corridors. He found Mussolini in a small, dimly lit room, sitting at a wooden table, his head bowed. The Italian dictator looked up as Skorzeny entered, his eyes widening in disbelief. "Signor Mussolini?" Skorzeny said, offering a rare smile. "I'm here to take you to safety on orders of the Fuhrer." Mussolini hesitated and rose to his feet. "You're here to save me?" "Yes," Skorzeny replied, motioning to the door. "And you're coming with me now." Minutes later, they were crammed into a tiny Renaissance plane. The pilot, clearly nervous, glanced back. "This plane isn't designed for free," he muttered. Skorzeny leaned forward, his scar catching the faint light. "Fly," he said coldly, "or we all die here." The overloaded plane struggled down the narrow strip of snow, before lurching into the air. Below them, the fortress shrank into the distance. As the mountains disappeared behind them, Skorzeny had accomplished his mission. By 1944, Skorzeny had become Hitler's go-to man for unconventional warfare. One of the most infamous operations was Operation Greif, a psychological assault designed to paralyze Allied forces during the Battle of the Bulge. Skorzeny's men disguised themselves as American soldiers, infiltrating enemy lines to spread confusion and fear. Allied troops soon found themselves unable to trust anyone. Soldiers turned on each other, interrogating comrades at gunpoint over minor discrepancies in slang or accents. The panic brought the Allied advance to a standstill, and Skorzeny was at the centre of it all. The mission's planning was meticulous, but its execution was even more chilling. Operation Greif, infiltrating the enemy. The smell of diesel fuel and damp earth clung to the air as Skorzeny adjusted the stolen American uniform. The jacket felt alien against his skin, but he wore it like a second skin. Around him, his men, disguised as American soldiers, practiced their accents, mimicking their enemies with eerie precision. "You sure this will work, sir?" one of the men asked, shifting nervously. Skorzeny smirked. "Confusion is the greatest weapon of war, and tonight will make them fear their own shadows." As night fell, they slipped behind enemy lines. Skorzeny took the lead, driving a captured jeep down a muddy road toward an Allied checkpoint. The headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating the two American guards standing by a makeshift barrier. "Identification?" one guard asked, stepping forward. Skorzeny handed over a forged ID, his expression calm. "Corporal Miller," he said, his English flawless. "We've been ordered to scout the area. High Command thinks there's movement nearby." The guard hesitated, peering into the jeep. Skorzeny met his gaze with cold, unblinking confidence. "Move along," the guard finally said, stepping back. As the jeep rolled past, Skorzeny exhaled quietly. "Perfect," he muttered to his men. Over the next few days, chaos erupted behind enemy lines. Road signs were swapped, false orders delivered, and paranoia spread like wildfire. Allied soldiers began accusing each other of being spies, the confusion grinding their advance to a crawl. Skorzeny watched from the shadows, a smirk playing on his lips as his plan unfolded. After the war, Otto Skorzeny's story didn't end. It only became more enigmatic. Branded as a war criminal for his crimes of wearing enemy uniform, he escaped captivity and fled to Spain, where he lived openly under Franco's regime. But, even as supposed exile, Skorzeny's skills made him invaluable to powerful people across the globe. He was rumoured to have become a bodyguard and even a lover to Eva Perón, the wife of Argentine President Juan Perón, further entwining himself with some of the most infamous figures of the 20th century. And then, in one of history's strangest twists, the man who had once been a high-ranking Nazi operative reportedly worked for Israel's Mossad. According to accounts, Skorzeny helped assassinate German scientists who were building weapons for Egypt. It's a revelation that continues to divide historians and conspiracy theorists alike. Was he seeking redemption, or was he simply a mercenary playing both sides for survival? Skorzeny died of cancer in 1975. To some, he was a soldier who thrived on daring missions. To others, he was a monster who thrived on chaos. One thing is certain: Otto Skorzeny's actions left a lasting imprint on history. His story provides a glimpse into the chaos and challenges that even the Axis powers faced within their own ranks. Thanks for listening.